The year 1991, the decade of flat tops, fades on the side, Will Smith on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. What is it that you see? This is me when I entered the University of Delaware in 1991, right out of high school, coming from a very kind of personal family experience where my parents wanted me to go to college. They wanted me to be whatever it was that I wanted to be. And my perception of myself at that time was that I could actually do it. I truly believed that as a Black male, I could show up on this predominantly white campus and show out, that I could come in and truly be my authentic self. And I realized at that time as a freshman that my experience was very unique. As a Black male, I was fortunate enough to have had a Black male guidance counselor, a Black male principal, a Black male science teacher, a Black male choir director. And so in many ways, my perception of myself was a replication of the individuals that I see and saw before me. And so I came in with this understanding that I could actually do and I could actually achieve and truly become a better version of myself. And as I'm at the university and I'm trying to kind of figuring all of this out, meeting new people, understanding kind of the college dynamics, it becomes clear that I'm different. And before going to the University of Delaware, I truly had never recognized or considered myself as being quote unquote Black. I was just me. But when I was put into a space where I was so different, I began to realize that maybe my perception of myself may not be the same perception that others had of me. And that created a lot of conflict for me. It was difficult for me to kind of adjust to that and settle with that internally. And so my college experience meant that I had to kind of allow myself the space to show and exhibit grace to others. The questions that some of my fellow students would come up and ask me would be, for example, does your hair get wet when you swim? And I knew they weren't coming at me because they disrespected me. I knew they weren't trying to be mean towards me, but their questioning made me uncomfortable. It made me feel like I was truly alone and isolated. Add to the fact that in my honors classes, I often happened to be the only Black male student. And they would say, well, you don't talk Black. You don't sound Black. And for me, I began thinking to myself, am I Black? Like, am I Black? Because if you're questioning my Blackness, maybe I'm not Black. And so that internal conflict really was troubling me. And so I was fortunate during this time to really begin to push myself and explore how to meet and build relationships with different individuals. During my time at the University of Delaware, my most impactful professor was Dr. Nancy King. When she came into the classroom on our first day, the title of the class was To Walk in Someone Else's Shoes. It was an honors course through the honors program, small class, which was good, maybe about 12 of us in the class. First time coming into the class, Dr. Nancy King has us to sit on the floor. And we begin to hold hands, and she instructs us to hum, to meditate. Coming from my experience growing up in Tennessee, we did not spend a lot of time sitting around holding hands, meditating and humming, right? So I'm out of my comfort zone, but doing those activities allowed me to experience how being uncomfortable with other individuals, we're actually able to be comfortable together. Taking the time to hear them Inhale, to listen to them exhale, to really get the beat of their heart. Those uncomfortable situations that Dr. Nancy King created for us in class allowed us as a class to build a community. And so I was beginning to feel very comfortable. My perception of Dr. Nancy King when she first came in, she was just different. I had never had an instructor that looked like her. This short little white lady coming in, and when she came in, she just had this ability to kind of take the energy in the room and reflect it back to you. And so I instantly felt this connection with her that I could not articulate at the time. And so I'm becoming more comfortable with myself doing this class. I'm becoming more comfortable with the other students doing this class. And during this time, this first semester at the University of Delaware, something happens that kind of rocks me. It was when the KKK comes to march on campus. The university's leadership sends out a letter, because at that time we were just getting introduced to emails. So they sent out a letter to parents stating, we have the best interest of your son or daughter at heart. All students of color are encouraged to stay in their resident hall with their resident assistant or to go to the student center to view a movie and have some pizza. So those were my two options. And I begin to think that I don't want to do either one. For some reason, I felt this pulling to actually go and see and witness this occasion occurring in real time. And so I made the decision to go to the march. The march occurred on Main Street, right in the center of the university's campus. And I'm walking towards Main Street, and I see a store called the Five and Dime. It's a store where students on campus could go and purchase university t-shirts and sweatshirts. And, it was a little cheaper than the university's bookstore. So I didn't have much money, so I spent a lot of time there. And there was the cashier of the store standing out front. So I didn't know her personally, but she had served on me several times. She always greeted me with a smile, always said thank you to me as I left. And so even though I didn't know her, my perception of her was that she was someone that I could trust, someone that I could stand next to safely. And so I went and I stood beside her. Slowly you begin to see this sea of white people dressed in white coming closer, holding signs with racial slurs. And as they get closer, for me, I begin to see the experience differently. It reminds me of the documentaries that I had watched in class during high school. It reminded me of the stories that my grandparents had shared with me. And this time it was a little different because the camera was on me. It was as if I was watching myself in one of those documentaries. And I get a little confused because I'm in college. My perception of myself before coming here was that I could do great things. And then all of a sudden now I'm witnessing this sea of white individuals that have a completely different perception of me. To make matters even worse, the white lady that was the cashier at the store begins to join in those slurs. And I'm just frozen. My mind is trying to tell me to leave, but my feet cannot move from the spot that I'm planted in. I didn't know what to do. I felt confused. I felt angry. I was pissed. All these emotions going through my head at 18. After the march ends, I have class with Dr. Nancy King. And I'm going to class, about to enter the classroom. She's standing at the front and she motions for me to stay at the back. She comes, joins me in the hallway, closes the classroom door behind her. It's just the two of us there alone. And she says 3 words to me that have stayed with me to this day. And those were, I see you. Once she said that, I broke down. I just started crying. All the emotions, the fear, the anger, everything came out. She's hugging me, I'm hugging her. And then in my mind, I'm like, why am I hugging this white lady? Like, she's my teacher. Like, what's going on, right? I'm confused. But in that moment, my perception of Dr. Nancy King is actually reaffirmed. I knew she was great when I met her the first time, that first day of class. But having her now to physically show up when I needed someone the most was so powerful for me. And I began to feel a little better. At least I had one person on campus that truly saw this black male student, and was really pulling for me to be a better version of myself. So I've taken that experience, my relationship with Dr. Nancy King, and it's actually allowed me to have a deeper understanding of myself. I also realized that I have a tendency to have perceptions of other people. It really came to light in a recent experience I had over the summer. One day I wake up and I have this craving for a Krispy Kreme donut. And if you're not familiar with Krispy Kreme donuts, it's basically just a glazed donut. And their kind of competitive advantage is that they have this hot glaze that they put on it. And then in the window, they will flash a sign, "Hot Donuts Now." My parents and I would actually stay in the parking lot of a Krispy Kreme donut and wait for that sign to go off. And then we would go there and get a donut. And on this particular day, I woke up with that craving. I was like, man, today feels like a perfect day to go and have a donut with my parents. They're not with me today, but I'm going to go have this donut. So I go to a local convenience store. It could be a 7-Eleven, which was the one that I went to, and it had the closest resemblance to a Krispy Kreme donut for me at that time. And so I get in my car, and I'm like, I'm going to 7-Eleven to get this donut. I pull into the parking lot, and I park beside a car that has a white woman in it. It's a convertible. It's a nice sunny day, so the top is down. I pull in, and as I'm pulling in, she locks her door. We make eye contact with each other. I'm kind of startled in the moment, and I'm staring at her. She's staring back at me, and she mouths the words, "I'm sorry." I step out the car onto the sidewalk, and now we're in this intense stare with each other. During that time, the driver of the car, whether it's her husband, partner, significant other, comes out. He's a white man. His perception of what he's witnessing is that there's this black man that is about to physically assault someone that he loves. So he approaches me with aggression. I just wanted a donut. That was literally it. So this gentleman approaches me. Is there an issue? Is there a problem? The white woman gets out the car, steps on the sidewalk between the two of us, and says, "I locked my door when this gentleman pulled in. I wanted to say sorry. It's a misunderstanding." And then she asked to give me a hug. I gave her the hug in that moment. And I'm like, why am I hugging this lady? She just wanted to lock the door like literally 30 seconds ago. They leave. They get in the car, they leave. And I go into the 7-Eleven, and by that time, I had honestly forgot what I was there for. And the cashier of the 7-Eleven, his perception of everything was, "Oh, were those your friends?" Perceptions can be powerful. Our perception of others can cause us to believe things that are not true. And once we find out that it's not true, we may become pissed, right? Because we had this perception of this individual or this event, this moment in history. And once we're presented with something that counters that perception, either we can accept it or we can also deny it. And throughout history, we've seen examples of when at times our perceptions of others or our perception of other events may not be exactly right. There may be a little tension there, right? What is your response to that tension? What's your response when those situations are not quite right? For me, it forces me to really take a step back, to really just exhale, inhale, to look at that person. Do I truly see them? Do I know them? One of the greatest things I've learned from Dr. Nancy King is to be willing to share your story in all its honesty and all the rawness, and to be as vulnerable as possible. Vulnerability allows us to build those human connections. It allows us to truly see each other in our own authentic way. And for that, I am really grateful for Dr. Nancy King. So I ask you now, we kind of went through a couple of stories. What is it now that you see? What is the story that you would tell yourself about this young Black man? Would you lock your door? Would you welcome this individual with open arms? I'm fortunate because when Dr. Nancy King saw this young man, she saw someone that would become a professor. She saw someone that would go out into the community and truly be a servant to others. She saw me. Dr. Nancy King, thank you.